So this is one of the things that I'm hugely proud of about working for GSA IT. Casey Coleman, the CIO from a few years ago, hired me in right at the start of Consolidation, and I was excited to be a part of the team that was going to do this. We've been able to accomplish a great number of things. So one of the key components is we have greater visibility into our investment and spending in the organization. When IT is aligned with various business units and deeply embedded down into what we call our staff and service offices, you don't have a lot of visibility into what the spend is, how the infrastructure operates, and things like that. When we centralize all management and operation of IT, it opens the door so that you can have visibility into those investments and those spends on your portfolio of systems. Just because the door is open doesn't mean, though, that you're going to realize anything. You just can see it. We were able to take the next step, which allowed us to go in and analyze what we had, analyze what was in the pipeline, and make good decisions. The value of zero-based budgeting in the federal space can be debated ad nauseum. We tend to think that it's hugely valuable here in GSA. So when we consolidated, it allowed us to look at every single line item of spend that looks like IT and maybe looks a little not like IT, and come away with a couple of conclusions. One, if you know it's there, then you can pay attention to it and you can manage it. Number two, we're able to see spend in the GSA community that maybe didn't sound like IT, but really was IT. And we're able to say, there's opportunities there to consolidate, to optimize, to transform. Because we look at every single line item of spend within the GSA budget, looking for IT budget, it gives us that clarity to say this should be consolidated into the GSA CIO enterprise and then properly managed by the IT organization. Another benefit is enterprise-wide planning. When you plan your IT performance and outlays and technology choices based on individual business unit lines, you get tailored IT that's specific for the business, and that's a great thing in most cases. But there is some commodity IT where it makes sense to have enterprise-wide view, collaboration systems, email systems, document management systems, stuff like that. It allows us, the consolidation has allowed us to do true enterprise planning where we can say, here's the roadmap for GSA, the business roadmap of GSA, and then we're able to develop technology solutions that align very well with that GSA mission. Part of the GSA mission is, of course, the individual missions of the individual business units within GSA. So it really gives us kind of that top-down view to properly plan how we're going to spend our IT dollars and how we're going to deploy IT that meets the entire mission of GSA, with keeping a keen eye towards potential savings, towards transformation, and things like that. There's more. We've been able to optimize our IT operations and our infrastructure. I talked a little bit about our application and infrastructure rationalization. We're deep enough into our consolidation that we're now able to focus largely on transformation. We're able to assess what the emerging trends are in the IT marketplace and see where those trends might positively impact the GSA computing enterprise. And then weave those in on a true enterprise perspective, rather than just gaining value in small little individual parts of the organization, you're able to do it in a much larger enterprise. We've been able to optimize our IT spend and vendor management. I'll be the first to admit, working with a federal agency, it can be difficult for the vendor community. Lots of times it's not very clear who to talk to, who the decision makers are. It's not particularly clear what technologies are in play or in use in an organization. Yet the vendor community needs to know some of that stuff so they can potentially offer up solutions that are going to help us with our difficult mission. So one of the things we did is we stood up a vendor management office to facilitate that two-way dialogue with the vendor community. That allows us a couple of things. It allows us to clearly communicate to the vendor community, to our industry partners, what our goals and objectives are. So they can help by designing and developing and deploying solutions within GSA that's going to be well aligned with our mission objectives. It also allows us to streamline that massive tidal wave of communication that comes in from the vendor community into GSA. So that they are not wasting their time talking to a variety of people who are never going to have a decision or have decision authority on IT spend and what technologies we use. They're able to come in at a single point so they know that their discussions with us, a federal government entity, are optimized and streamlined. And then this also allows us to look for opportunities to consolidate some of our IT spend with our industry partners. So instead of them coming in and selling to individual business units and selling the same thing repeatedly, we're able to instead focus on more beneficial enterprise agreements that will serve the entire GSA enterprise. So we've been working, like all federal agencies have been working on data center consolidation. Through the Federal Data Center Consolidation Initiative managed by OMB. That work was made much, much easier by the fact that we're in a consolidated IT organization. The first thing when you're going to consolidate data centers is you have to know what's out there. And if you don't have a good read on what's out there, you're doing data calls to business units that own data centers that sometimes know what they have and sometimes don't. That's made more difficult. If all of that sits under one IT shop umbrella, then knowing what's out there is half the battle. But then when we do the busy work of consolidating data centers, we've been reasonably successful. We've shut down 87 data centers since the initiative started. We're able to do things like save $29 million. That's good stuff. That's a good news story. But the really good news story that's kind of just under the covers there is we've simplified our IT. We've been able to standardize on IT infrastructure across our remaining data centers. We've been able to take a look at that consolidated infrastructure and looked for viable candidates to move out to cloud service providers, whether that's as infrastructure as a service or platform as a service. It's facilitated our move to the cloud, consolidating these data centers. When you know what you have and what you have is consolidated and efficient, it allows you to focus less and less on driving more efficiencies and instead focusing on transformation.